would absolutely love to be walked around.
What you're seeing right now is the current inside of AltaSea, a non-profit organization based in San Pedro, California. Remember this line from Journey Down Under? I will become a marine biologist one day. This is me taking my first steps into the world of marine biology, officially. You see, I was lucky enough to get a chance to interview a marine biologist by the name of Horeczko, and got to learn a little bit more about what it takes to be a marine biologist. I chose to make it a video because I think PowerPoints and basic essays are lame. I'd rather show you what I did.
If it wasn't already obvious, I'm making this video for a school assignment. Now on with the video.
There we go.
All right.
It is on.
Okay, hello, my name is Michelle Horeczko, and I work for the California Department of Fish and Wildlife. Essentially, I'm a marine fisheries biologist. My official title is Senior Environmental Scientist Supervisor, and I work on the Pelagic Fisheries and Ecosystems program. And my role here currently is I oversee the data collection and data management and research portion that is related to managing our pelagic fish stocks, which we co-manage with the federal government. And so that consists of highly migratory species like tuna, sharks, billfish, as well as coastal pelagic species, which are the smaller schooling fish, sardines, anchovies, jack mackerels, and market squid, which is one of the biggest grossing commercial fisheries in the state. And it's a big, important fishery for San Pedro.
How long have you been in this profession?
My first fisheries job, I started, I want to say about 25 years ago. It was a fisheries technician job. It was really fun. I covered Southern California, and what I did was I conducted what are called creel surveys for our marine sport fishery. So I went out on party boats, I went to piers, I went to jetties, I went to beaches, I went to launch ramps, and I interviewed sport fishermen and women about their fishing trips, and I identified any kinds of fish that they had, and I got measurements to help to use to manage the sport fishery and collect data on the frequency in which people were taking fishing trips and how many fish were being removed and sort of the health of those fish populations. So that was a really fun job. In particular, I liked going out on the overnight boat trips. You know, as typical with a lot of these natural resource jobs, it was not full-time. It was a part-time job doing field work. It doesn't pay that great, but you get really good experience. And so I did that for those type of jobs for about 5 years before I got a permanent position. And then I worked for a federal fishery commission. I was a supervisor for that program. And then about 5 years later, I transitioned to Fish and Wildlife, where I've been since, but I've worked on a variety of different projects with.
Let's see, how long have you been here specifically at AltaSea?
Only pretty much exactly a year. So we became tenants in October of last year. This is a completely unique type of experience for us as for our agency as state employees to be tenants in a more interactive space like this, where we're sharing space with private businesses that are involved in blue tech or aquaculture, and in this space where AltaSea is sort of acting as a hub to do marine education with students and support blue economy businesses.
So what made you get into this field of work?
That's a good question. I grew up here in San Pedro, and I've always, ever since I was a small child, I enjoyed animals and doing things in the outdoors and going to the beach and going out on the boat. I I don't think I always knew exactly that I wanted to be a marine scientist, but I certainly got a lot of exposure. I had an uncle that was a marine biologist. My grandfather, my other uncle, and that uncle that was a marine biologist were all had their captain's license and took us kids out fishing, and were involved in environmental monitoring and so forth. And so I had a lot of exposure to it, and I also grew up with a lot of friends, a lot of kids in the neighborhood that were from commercial fishing families. So it was always part of, my identity to be involved with the ocean, I think. I didn't really know what I wanted. I tried anthropology for a while. I was interested in art. I wasn't sure maybe I wanted to teach, or I was all over the place. And it took me a while to get focused and realize that this is what was really motivating me, was to do outdoor field work.
Well, we're going to skip ahead since you mentioned elementary school. So what was like the educational career that you took? How did that play out?
Sure. So, I took a somewhat traditional, route. When I finished high school, I started pretty much immediately. I attended Cal State Dominguez Hills, and it was close, and I knew that they had good programs, and it was pretty flexible schedule. I was enjoying it, but I really didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. I was taking a lot of anthropology classes. I also was taking some classes at Harbor College that were more like elective type classes. Like I took German and I took art, and
So you were there too?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Dominguez Hills was my primary school, but I was just dabbling around in different things, not quite knowing what I wanted, and started to do concurrent enrollment with Cal State Long Beach. So I was taking some classes at Cal State Long Beach and some at Dominguez Hills. And Dominguez Hills, the biology classes were more focused on like pre-med or like microbiology type, like health science type things. And I started to pick up some classes at Cal State Long Beach, and they had the marine science program, and that's kind of when I realized this is really what is motivating me. I was taking these field classes and getting out on the boat and doing some field work for school. I have a bachelor's degree. A lot of our incoming scientists now, it's more competitive. Many are coming in with master's degrees, and they have oftentimes they have done research as a student and been, a co-author on a paper, but I was not that advanced. In this line of work, and also working for a government agency, definitely you have to keep up with changes and new technology, new ways of analyzing data, but they offer courses as part of training through our job. In some ways, it may not be necessary unless you're going to pursue some type of specialized research, right?
So you mentioned you had a bachelor's degree. Did you get it from CSU Long Beach?
I got it from Cal State Dominguez Hills, but a lot of the field work and marine bio work came from courses that I took at Cal State.
So what was your bachelor's in? Just
general biology. I think I kind of lucked out at the time. It was not quite as competitive to get these jobs with state agency or federal agency that are in resource management.
Let's see. So how long did it take for you to accumulate your bachelor's?
A long time. I think like 8 years.
So were you a part-time or full-time student?
I would characterize it as, maybe half and half, honestly. Most of the time I worked full-time, and the first couple of years I was definitely a full-time student, and then over time it was kind of like, I don't know, I don't, it's been so long ago, I can't quite remember exactly what I did, but, you know, like there was, I know I took a couple semesters off, and then, you know, sometimes I was spending more time working than going to school.
I remember my professor gave us a whole lecture on how getting your first job is like the hardest one to get. So let me make sure I'm reading this exactly. After you were done with school, how were you able to get your first job?
I lucked out. I think I might have mentioned that I spent some time living in Alaska. So when I was in Alaska, you know, I was curious what Fish and Game was doing, and so I walked in the Fish and Game office and asked to volunteer. They accepted me as a volunteer, so I learned some things about how fish are managed in Alaska, and went out in the wilderness and did some field work up there. I volunteered at the Marine Mammal Care Center, which is in San Pedro.
It's right next to my old high school too.
Yeah, oh, is that where you went to school?
Yeah,
okay.
At San Pedro High School, Ogin campus.
Okay, that's like kind of my neighborhood.
Really?
Yeah, and so some things, they're not directly related to what you were applying for, but as a hiring supervisor, when I see new students coming out, it makes a huge difference when you see that a student has had work experience versus just classroom, even if it's waiting on tables or something completely unrelated. It just shows that that person is capable of, you know, being in a work environment. They're reliable. They understand how to work with other people, and you know, without having that balance, it's hard to know how someone's going to work out. If you have experience fishing, hunting, scuba diving, surfing, boat handling, those things can be applied to the work that we do at the department, whether it's law enforcement or research or, you know, what have you.
Could you give me some of the pros and cons of working as a marine biologist?
Well, you know, I enjoy it. I think something to be aware of is what kind of work environment works for you and what you're interested in.
It wouldn't be a Dante the Salmon video if it didn't have my GoPro dying mysteriously. This time it was from heat stroke, but thankfully I did manage to get a tour of the inside of the facilities.
You can see they'll have some information about AltaSea.
Yeah.
Packing.
Oh.
Tracking and trying to sort of fit things into a jigsaw puzzle so they don't go sliding around.
This is our lab, this container here. This is what we have been working out for the past year. Our outreach team came up with this nice poster so that visitors who are coming in, they can use the QR code and it goes to our website. And I can show you our lab. This is where we process our samples from commercial and sport fisheries.
Would you like a box of Swedish fish?
Okay, sure. Thank you.
There you go. Enjoy it. Or an hour. Take as long as you want, please. I'm all ears. I want to do this when I grow up.
Yeah, no problem.
As if I wasn't already an adult. I mean, when I grow older.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. Alright. Well, right now, like, our project is the Southern California Fisheries Research and Management Project. So we focus on, like, fin fish, like important species, like in our recreational, like, fisheries. And so what I'm looking at right now is halibut. So we do a maturity study on halibut and white sea bass. So I have jars of gonads. So these are, yeah, from halibut. So this one right here is actually a male, and they're preserved in formalin. And so what I'm doing is I'm cutting them up and putting them in these little cassettes, and they're going to be sent off to histology. So when they go to histology, then my lead, she's the one who analyzes the slides, and she could see like what level of maturity they're at. So in 2013, that was the last time they changed the regulations for them. So right now it is 14 inches to keep a bass and only 5 per person. So last time in 2013, it was 12 inches. So they've changed that, hoping to mitigate and help them, you know, rebound and just give them more time to reproduce. So I'm helping to just kind of keep an eye on the population and see how they're doing.
This is more like of an unrelated question to the like string of questions that I've been asking, but since you're on a fishing boat, do you sometimes get to eat the fish?
Not really. Yeah, no.
They
I'm
don't-
just there to sample.
They don't feed you on the boat?
Fish shuttle or anything, so it is just like I'm just there with the recreational fishermen, like just so that I could sample and collect the data. But
I don't know. I was just curious about that. Thank you very much.
After this, my GoPro finally cooled down enough for us to continue recording.
Okay. All right. So we were talking about, are there any cons or challenges to being in this type of environment? And overall, I can't think of anything that is really that bad. I'm pretty happy, and I think most of my coworkers feel pretty rewarded and pretty happy that you know, it's mixed. I'm spending part of my time responding to emails, doing, you know, reading, holding meetings, and I'm still engaged in field work and engaging with the public like we're doing today, right?
Yeah.
And so
now that we've gotten a chance to like know each other more, the final question left here is, based off of what you know about me so far, would you see this working out for me as I am now? Like, what skills, how would you recommend I should build myself up to approach this job?
you know, being persistent and consistent and being willing to learn and to change in order to improve is pretty much going to get you anywhere. And I don't know if you had any more specific.
That's it.
Okay.
Thank you so much for your time.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. It was nice to meet you. And
Finally, another finished project, and so close into proximity between Journey Down Under. This interview was an absolute blast to record, and it's something that I've had on my bucket list for a while. I want to give a very special shout out to Professor CEDILLOS and also Michelle Horeczko for allowing me to interview her, as well as AltaSea for letting me put the video up publicly. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.